everybody, welcome back to Game Bro Station and the Game BroCast. I hope y'all are doing good today. Today we have a special program and it's being run by our very own Marc. We are here with him and Matt.
Yeah.
Say hi, everybody.
Yo.
Hi, everybody.
We're talking about something. What are we talking about, Marc?
We're talking about Ducktales 2017 Season 1.
Ooh.
Woo! In 2015, Disney announced there would be a Ducktales reboot. Some fans cried foul at the thought of their favorite show being rebooted. Others woohooed with joy. And we're here to talk about it today because there's a 24-hour marathon.
Yes, but before we answer that, let's ask, were you on the side of woohoo or were you on the side of foul?
I was feeling pretty woohoo myself.
Oh, that's good.
I too felt the woohoo.
I am indifferent.
All right.
Well, before we get started, this will be, of course, a spoiler review.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, if there's good, I don't know why you'd watch any review if you haven't actually seen a thing in question, but, just in case, just for fun.
Yeah.
And because fans of his voice will get this reference, spoilers ahead! Ahead! Anyway, so yeah, spoilers ahead. Do not
pass go. Do not collect 20 Scrooge McDuck dollars. Well, for starters, before we get into the episode, any of you, since it is a reboot, any of you have any experiences with the original one that maybe had your expectations at any levels?
I myself have. When I was growing up, I had I don't know if it was like the beginning of the series or like just a movie they made or slapped a bunch of episodes together to make a movie. But it was essentially when the Scrooge McDuck and the family went and met the genie.
That was the movie.
Okay, see, I had the movie when I was a kid, and that was my kind of intro to DuckTales. I caught it on TV now and then and quite often later on as growing up. But yeah, I'm somewhat familiar with the show and its format and everything and the characters and whatnot.
All right, Matt?
I have no context for the DuckTales growing up. The only thing I knew about was the main title, which everyone claimed to be Stuck in Your Heads. The only show that I really got into under Disney's banner at the time was Darkwing Duck, so I recognized Launchpad more from that show
The spin-off.
than DuckTales. But as from what I've heard, yes, Launchpad is actually originally from DuckTales, not Darkwing Duck. But for me, it's the other way around, so I had no attachments to it.
So you were more of a let's get dangerous kid as opposed to a woohoo lad, eh?
Yeah, I was more on the satirical side of the superheroes type stuff.
But that was a great show as well.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
Is
I
that
really
getting a
enjoyed it.
reboot?
I don't know for sure, but it got a name drop in the episode.
Okay. Oh yeah.
But okay. As for me myself, I never actually got to watch the DuckTales series growing up because we never got the channel at my house. But every summer we would go to Lake Tahoe, and the cabin we would rent would get that channel. So DuckTales was almost like this cool, special summer vacation fun thing for me.
That's pretty cool.
I think maybe just with my family's background, I actually was familiar with a lot of the adventures that the DuckTales was based off of through the comics, the Carl Barks and Don Rosa, I believe, comics, which actually, of course, no longer done by them, but in Europe actually have a huge following and are still going on to this day. So that's some of my background into some of the DuckTales lore, if you will.
That's pretty cool.
All right, then. Well, now that we got that out of the way, let's get started with a brief summary here. Okay, so we start up our episode with Donald Duck going off to a job interview, still raising Huey, Dewey, and Louie by himself without any mention of their parents whatsoever, really, as they attempt to burn down a houseboat as he's leaving out the door. Scrooge McDuck is at a board meeting, completely bored out of his mind, and possibly not as rich as I think he's been depicted in the past. The money bin, I think, was looking pretty sparse, would you say, you guys?
Yeah, the level of money was definitely like maybe a third or less in comparison to where usually he had a small dive and not a larger dive.
Right. So Donald needs someone to babysit the nephews. He drops them off at Scrooge's house, where Scrooge wants nothing to do with them, locks them in a room with nothing but a bag of marbles that they have to return when the visit's over, of course. We meet the new Mrs. Beakley, who is more, a little more stern, a little more in control as opposed to how she was originally in the show, kind of ditzy and high-strung a little bit, I'd say.
That wasn't Emma Thompson, right?
The voice for this one?
Yeah.
No, not to the best of my
I
knowledge.
don't know why. She kind of reminded me of that. Just the way she talked. It sounded like a veteran actress.
I could see that. I believe she does have a repertoire. I have to pull up the name later.
I don't mean to digress. Carry on.
No, okay. So they break out. They meet Webby, who is no longer just the 80s well, how we write this character? Well, it's a girl. She's girl character. She's a little more manic, a little more high-strung, ambitious. She's really good with a whip. Whipped them clean out the door, if we have to be honest.
Delightful.
And all she wants is adventure. She clearly idolizes the Scrooge McDuck that once was. They accidentally set loose a whole bunch of ancient evils, apparently, in Scrooge's garage, because that's where I keep all my ancient evils. I don't know about you guys. Including a horseless headman, a horse that doesn't have a head, but is a horseless man head. A man, yes.
It's a horse without a head, pretty much.
Yes. Ancient pirate ghost guy, and what did they call it? The Deus Excalibur?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was hilarious. It won't stop until it's killed its target, which kind of sucks when you're fighting a ghost.
Yeah.
And eventually all of those team up to form a crazy super team. But Scrooge beats them. The horse gets a head from a Scrooge McDuck statue and is no longer considered a freak by society. I'm sorry, you had to be there for that one.
Yeah.
And the sword gets put away, but they accidentally unleash an ancient gold-eating dragon that then proceeds to go and try and get to Scrooge's money bin, because, I mean, where else would you go for gold these days? Not the American economy. Anyway. And, they eventually stop the dragon. Launchpad finally flies a plane, because he's a pilot. That was a bit of a running joke throughout the first bit of the episode, and they save the day. Scrooge is excited to be out and adventuring again and invites them to join him on a quest to Atlantis because a current has shifted and opened up, and the possibility is ripe. And at the end of the first half, we learn that Donald Duck has applied for a job interview with Scrooge's rival, Flintheart Glumgold. So, with that mouthful out of the way of just the first part, what did you guys think of the first half of this hour-long special?
Honestly, I had a lot of fun. It was really cool to see them reintroduce every character and how they're going to be in the series. Like you mentioned, Ma Beakley is kind of more... Mrs. Beakley, right?
Mrs. Beakley.
She's more like strict and firm and whatever in comparison to the old show. Huey, Dewey, Louie are still Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Mm-hmm. Their personalities are kind of intact. Same with Donald and Scrooge. Mm-hmm. It's nice to see that Glumgold just doesn't look like a copy-paste of Scrooge anymore. He's got his own unique look and everything.
He's a little more rotund now.
Yep. Also, I did a quick look up. Ma Beakley is voiced by Margot Martindale, so that's who voices her in this new series.
Yeah, which was interesting because, I mean, of course, maybe you know if you follow animation, June Foray, who voiced Ma Beagle and then Magica de Spell, recently passed away, so... But I think she was 99 years old, so a good life and a true voice acting legend. Matt,
oh, yeah.
Your thoughts on the first half of the episode?
It was interesting. I obviously being here by the more cynic out of you two, I kind of went in with no expectations, no hypeness or discouragement of any sort, and I thought it was just okay. I had a slew of issues, but I don't know if you really want me to go into that right now. Overall, the positives I would say is like pretty much what you got. Well, you didn't mention any positives, you just summarized. It's a start of an adventure, and I don't know. I don't really know if I want to go into the negatives too much right now.
Okay, we'll get into that then later once we finish the episode review.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But, okay. For me, I thought it was pretty good. Maybe a little slow would be my only thing for it, but it's the startup and it's the whole hour-long thing before we get, like, the proper episodes going.
Right.
But I liked what I saw a lot. I was surprised that, because all the ancient evils that are unleashed at that point, they're all stuff we saw in trailers and promo stuff, so that leads me to believe that really we know very few of where this series is going forward. In fact, like a lot of those new villains that you see in the intro, which for some reason they played after the first half of this special.
Yeah, that was really strange.
They were all in the beginning, and so I mean, I don't know if any of them are coming back or not, but like pretty hard to spoil it, I think, just from watching, anything in particular, because it's all just in this one episode. We don't know much else going forward. Okay, well, that being said, we'll continue on to part 2. All right, so they board the submarine. Launchpad can drive a submarine because he crashed a helicopter into a kiddie pool once, apparently. And they go through all kinds of shenanigans. Scrooge wants to take the long way around to avoid trouble, to avoid getting in trouble with Donald, quite honestly, who is I don't think we mentioned way more paranoid about the safety of the triplets and everything in this series. And, of course, it was Dewey, who then changes the map. They wind up having to deal with the Kraken, Duck Mermaid people, and what was the third one? Was there a third? Some weird creature I don't even think I...
It was like a typhoon monster.
A typhoon monster of some sort. Right.
Yeah.
And eventually they make it to Atlantis, but not before having to stop for a bathroom break, because they can't use the bathroom on the ship because one of the Duck Mermen has crawled up through the toilet and is still trying to get at them. So they board Glumgold's ship, who is, of course, pursuing Scrooge to get the treasure. And it's then that Donald finds out that the nephews are in danger, and all the while trying to protect them as they're going to Atlantis, kind of pitching it to Glumgold the ways he could kill Scrooge and rub it in his greedy face that he got the jewel of Atlantis and Scrooge didn't. I think that's a fair assessment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, of course, they go through it. Donald's trying to prevent all the booby traps from killing them, unbeknownst to Glumgold and like his assassins. Like, he had 2 Russian wolf guys, I guess, and
some kind of bird.
A bird dressed in like the Kid Kill Bill outfit.
Yeah.
Who was interesting, I guess, but didn't do much, quite honestly.
No. Well, the wolves did a lot less than the girl.
Right.
Yeah.
But so Glumgold apparently manages to steal the jewel of Atlantis and starts flooding the chamber.
A jewel.
A jewel of Atlantis. Oh, and Launchpad is bitten by snakes and starts speaking Swedish. All the while Webby is trying to lie to her grandmother that she's not in any danger and that she's at a friend's house sleeping over, not being very specific and lying, because lying's good.
Yeah, lying is
good.
being responsible.
Lying is being responsible.
Damn it, Theodore said.
Theodore said, right. Who's Theodore? Wrong chipmunks. Wrong triplets.
Well, Simon is the anarchist, and Alvin is the one not being Alvin.
All right, we got our triplets crossed here. We got to get these ducks back in a row. So anyway. Thank you. See what I did there?
I love that little honk he did at the end of that.
Okay, so Glumgold escapes with the gem. They all manage to get out after, learning kind of that Donald has to, let the kids grow up and that they're going to get into trouble. And if you're going to get into trouble, who better to get in trouble with than Scrooge McDuck?
Because he'll get you out of trouble.
Because he'll get you out of trouble every time. Glumgold winds up, of course, having a fake gem which is cursed, apparently, according to Scrooge, and gets taken away by the Kraken.
Yeah. Which what he means by curse is just like a beacon for the Kraken to come take it.
Yeah, basically.
It's not really a curse, but...
This is what Davy Jones had in his ship in Pirates of the Caribbean. We just never saw it.
Yeah.
And the houseboat burns down because apparently all the way back at the beginning when the twins were trying to escape to Cape Suzette, they left the motor running. Oh. So the boat is now obsolete, and they're all living in the mansion of Uncle Scrooge for more crazy adventures. And let's see. Yeah, I think that just about sums up the second part of the series. We'll go again with Jared. Thoughts and at this point, even any negatives you may have on overall with the special.
Overall, I really, at the end of the special, liked it. I liked everything they did. The second part, it felt like watching kind of that old movie I mentioned ages ago. Just them going on an adventure, traps happening, and like Donald behind the scenes or Scrooge a little more front center instead of behind the scenes, but protecting the boys from life-threatening danger. Just remind me, did Webby do a lot of fighting in the original series and whatnot?
No, Webby was just there as girl character.
Right.
She's this was girl character.
Right.
This was 80s TV.
Yeah,
right?
gotcha.
Late 80s.
Gotcha. But yeah, so the fact that she was actually helping and fighting and
she was no Gosling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
She was not.
But in this, she might be a little more Gosling.
Channeling a little Gosling, I think it would be safe
Which
to
is
say.
perfect for it, because I really like the fact that she was there with them, helping out, doing things. And I also like the fact that they didn't just up and leave and the villains got screwed over, like the hench people. They actually saved them, because when Glumgold's about to sink the city and basically leaves his little minions behind, they're kind of like, Donald, can we hitch a ride on your boat? And he's just like, "Arr," and then invites them on so that they don't die.
That's exactly what
I can't do Donald's voice. I've tried before ages ago. Okay. I hate myself. Not kidding. But, yeah, no, overall, I had a lot of fun watching it. As you two know, I was laughing a good chunk of the time watching
Jared was
it.
in stitches during the view.
Oh, yeah, he could enjoy it for sure.
I know I laugh at a lot of things usually, give or take, but I was just having some nostalgia, but also really enjoying the improvements they've made.
His
and
inner
the new
child
voice
came
cast.
out.
Yeah, there you go.
He was so happy.
Yeah. Also, I'm an idiot and can't read IMDb. I read the Margot Martindale isn't the voice of Mrs. Beakley. She's another voice. That lady is Tox Olagundoy.
Wow.
Oh, I'm not familiar with her work.
No, but she did a good job, I would say.
Yeah,
Very
I
good
liked
job.
I liked her take on Beakley.
Yeah.
And
Overall, I had a lot of fun.
all right, very interesting, Jared. And Matt, any positives you have for the second half of this 1 hour special?
Well, if I may, I want to put the positives to not just part 2, but part 1 as well. I think for me, one of the positives is that I actually think the animation was a little bit more solid in terms of like what I've seen before. Because it's funny, we were talking about the villains in the intro, and I was thinking about it. It's like, the old Disney DuckTales, like even the whole theme, even though I've rarely seen it, I've seen like cuts and bits and pieces. Everything was round and cutesy in the old show. This one, it feels like a little bit more realistic. It kind of reminded me of a mix between Shaolin Warriors and that Mickey Mouse Flash cartoon.
The series that's going on right now?
Yeah, whatever that is.
I enjoy those shorts.
I felt like, at least in terms of the world, it felt like a mesh between the two.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that just came about because, it's a dragon, kind of remind me of Shaolin Showdown, but it was the way how the animation flowed, the action, all that. That's what it reminded me of.
That's a very astute observation.
Very
I like
astute. I
that.
like it indeed.
Because I kind of forgot about those new Mickey Mouse shorts, but you're right. It does have that and the Shaolin Showdown feel. You're
And
absolutely right.
if what you guys said is true, the other Scottish guy,
Glumgold.
being originally in the show, he was just kind of like a clone of Scrooge.
Yeah, imagine that same outfit he was wearing in this one, but on Scrooge.
Yeah, I think I remember that in my back of my mind. So it's like, oh yeah, they made him a round, distinct fellow. That makes sense. I'm glad they did that.
A stronger silhouette.
Yep.
And oh shoot, when I was listening to some of the music, I don't know why it triggered something in my head. Not PC related, just it reminded me of some kind of weird soundtrack. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, like, I think for me, because again, I'm not trying to be a down in the dump, stick in the mud kind of fella, but that's kind of really the only positives I have. A lot of things that you guys are talking about, I'm kind of like neutral about. It's like, I think there was some strengths and potential, but I don't want to get into that because that will lead to negatives. So why don't we go back to you, Mark? What do you think are some of the positives?
Well, my positives were basically, with the exception of Donald Duck, who is voiced by Tony Anselmo, who's been voicing him for years now. None of any original voice talent returned for this, many because they've passed or just they wanted a clean slate altogether. And you can't really fiddle with Donald Duck's voice too much without changing Donald Duck.
Yeah, it's kind of like with, what's his name, Bill Farmer playing Goofy.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a staple.
Yes, it's
Oil.
Yeah, same generation of voice acting and everything. But what's the name of one of the Doctor Who's is voicing Scrooge now?
David Tennant.
David Tennant, yes. I thought he did a pretty good job there. And I like that the nephews actually have more or less their own distinct voice now. And they're not just wearing the same outfit, color swapped, basically. Kind of helps keep them apart. I think even the show itself even made some jokes that like they look the same with Scrooge, just not even remembering their names.
Yeah, I mean, they even behave the same.
He called Dewey Bluey.
And the third one.
Yeah.
And yeah, overall, I liked it a lot. There were a lot of, if you're going to watch it, there's a lot of fun name drops to Goof Troop, Darkwing Duck, and Tailspin, I think, just in locations that are thrown around. And if you're a fan of the original comics, a lot of the art on like Scrooge's wall, it's their own version of it, but it's a lot of the portraits and paintings from the comics in Scrooge's house. So I think if you're a fan of the Disney Saturday morning afternoon or a fan of the original comics, there's a little something here for everyone with a little bit more of a modern take. And all that being said, I guess we'll go with negatives and maybe things we'd like to see improved or done in future episodes.
Yeah, I mean, this is only the premiere parting episode. Hopefully, Disney will listen to their fans and feedback and act upon these things. So don't take these criticisms, especially from me, folks, that this is like, oh, I just hate this shit. It's garbage. Disney sucks. TV. Yeah, no. Not saying any of that. It's just things that probably will help the series becomes stronger as it goes, hopefully.
Right, and as you said, this is the start of it. They have to establish the building blocks before they can really have fun with the toys they have, so to speak. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll start again with Jared. Any negatives or things you would like to see improved or done for future episodes in the series?
On that note, I don't have too many. I only have a few things. One of which being that I felt at the end when Mrs. Beakley and Webby kind of had their reunion after the Atlantis adventure. I thought her accepting that Webby's going to be going on like all these crazy adventures was a little too quick. It was a little more abrupt. Like with the boys and Donald, it makes sense because they literally snuck out, did the first half, then did the second half. So it makes more sense that...
And Donald witnessed this happening.
Yeah, exactly. So...
And they make a point in the beginning to say how much Mrs. Beakley is against Webby. She wants to prepare her for everything, but she doesn't want her to ever have to face anything.
Yeah. And then like at the end, it's just like, okay, you're with Scrooge. Yeah, go have fun. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm not your secretary. But other than that, I didn't really have too much harsh critiques for it. I thought the characters were used quite well, so I'm doing good. I guess I could... No, I'm not going to knock the theme song. It's different, but it's a good modern take, I would say, so I'm not even going to go into the
lyrics
song.
are all there and everything.
Yeah.
It's just a different, more upbeat style, I think, compared to the original.
Yeah.
I like the animation in the intro, though, a lot, actually. Very fast-paced, transitioning through everything, and...
especially the comic kind of things that they did to even go back to the comic thing. The fact that, like, the boys and the characters were, like, going through panels or coming out of panels when things were happening in the intro. That was clever.
Mm-hmm. Matt, any negatives or things you'd like to see progressed moving forward?
Okay, so yeah, like I try to warn people, and I'm not trying to start hate here, but like I said, I went into this very indifferent. I never attached to the series and all that, so I'm kind of going in with a blank slate. And I think the very first thing that really bothered me is guy who plays Donald, love you, you're doing great. I did not understand a fucking single word you said.
I've noticed that over the years, Donald's been getting, I don't know if I'm just getting older and my hearing's going, but Donald's been getting a little harder to understand lately.
During the entire part where he was preparing for his job interview with his nephews, everything he said, like he even made a joke about, I guess, picking up somebody. I didn't hear exactly what he said then. It suddenly cuts to like a lady in the middle of nowhere and it's like, whoa, I guess you forgot something. It's like, I can't understand you. You gotta establish yourself, enunciate better.
Yeah.
And throughout, there's been times, like if you said a short phrase, then yes, I understand. It was like, yes, no, whatever. But if you said elongated sentences, I'm like, I can't understand you. You gotta enunciate a little bit better. That was the first thing that kind of bothered me. The other thing that kind of bugged me, and I don't know if it's just because I'm an adult or something, but everything kind of felt ill-founded where, yes, I get it. Scrooge is kind of bored with his life. All he does is deal with his accountants, try to move money around to keep it within, but he missed the adventure. He misses going out there. And when he finally gets a chance to go out and do something great with his life again, he decides to endanger underage kids, his nephews, to bring along on this excursion, which could or could not, in fact, involve a villain of some sort, a rival, who clearly has no problem killing children. And during the whole thing, it's like, Scrooge saying like, oh, I'll keep them out of danger. It's like, you put him in danger in the very first place. And I didn't really feel like that was entirely justified, but again, it's a cartoon, so who the fuck cares? The other thing that kind of bugged me is I get where the writers were trying to take the whole morals behind everything. I felt like they didn't really tackle the irony of what Theodore said. I'm just going to call him that because I don't fucking know his name. Where he said like, oh yeah, lying, not telling anyone about where you're going is irresponsible. You could at least lie. That's more responsible. And the way they set up that joke, I didn't really feel like that there was a payoff saying like, oh yeah, he says it's responsible, but it didn't come back to bite him in the ass. So in some weird way, I feel like it giving kids a message saying like, oh yeah, no, this cartoon said like lying is responsible, so I'll do that just in case. And I'm not saying that cartoon's gonna ruin all kids. I'm just saying like, if you're gonna make claims like that, have that come back and bite Theodore back in the ass, saying like, well, shit, that this is what happens when you listen to me, gold duck. And the other thing, like I said, that bothered me about the writing is that I get what Scrooge was trying to say to his nephews, but it felt like the start of a philosophical analogy, but he never finished it. Like, the whole thing is like, oh, we gotta go through all this crazy shit in order to get to Atlantis. And he's like, well, why can't we just go straight? And it's just like, sometimes the quickest way is not a straight line all the time. And then he just leaves it at that. He never says why. It's just like, you gotta take account of like dangers or things like that. You wanna optimally go somewhere, you gotta think about what's the safest route and the cleanest and all that shit. But they always like, well, the straight line, that's just the quickest. They never cover that. And the whole thing about going through all the traps and shit. Fuck, I sound like an angry New Yorker right now. Going through the traps, Scrooge is saying like, yes, we gotta get through these traps, but he's like, the duck kid is like, oh, look at me, I'm slowly going through the lasers, even though we saw flames go up. I'll go through the lasers anyway. And then Scrooge is like, rope, other side, didn't even bother the lasers at all. And then he was like, that's no fun. And it's like, Scrooge is like, it's easier this way, but they don't really go off saying like exactly why is it easier. Why would it be easier for you? Why would it be easier for everyone else that you're adventuring with? I know I sound really horrible right now, but it's just tiny little things like that just kind of made it a little less of a believable situation for me. But it didn't kill it entirely. It's just, it felt a little silly for my taste. And hopefully in the future they'll start to address these morals a little bit more clearly, pace them out better. And I'll be fine with that because, like I said, if you're like an elderly gentleman who wants to relive your adventures, but you decide to bring your kids who are probably like, what, 8-10 years old or something, on these adventures where there's actually assassins and shit who will kill you just to beat you to a few extra bucks. I'm not going to give Uncle Scrooge a award for best uncle in the world anytime soon.
Oh, no, it's very much in the same ballpark of, would you give Batman the best parent award given his track record with, the kids under his care?
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem you have when you put kids in adventure roles.
Yeah, and if there was like a more natural flow to it, like why it is the way it is, and yeah, that's fine. Other things that bothered me a little bit, which was more of a solution. It was more of a positive, kind of became a negative, but not as bad as what I just ranted about, is I'm glad they distinctified, if I said that correctly, the nephews. Because like I said, in the original show, they're all the same. It's just red, green, blue, that's it. In this one, they kind of established them. They didn't do the quack pack angle that they could have done, which I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, they didn't go that far.
They made the red one like eager to do all this shit. The blue one,
more adventurous.
Well, I was gonna say the blue one is more cynical in a way. The green one, I guess, was the responsible liar one. Okay, so no, their character was not entirely established, but they were distinct.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, they already start to become their own distinct thinking minds. And I'm grateful for that. They also did not just give them all same hat and shirt, different color. They actually had like different hats or no hat at all with like a cowlick and things like that.
Yeah.
I am grateful for that much. But just to speed things up, yes, I feel like the writing could have been pushed a little bit more and justify the world that's around you, and then I'll see how I feel about it in later episodes. Who knows? Anyway, Mark, you look like you want to yell at me. Oh,
no, not at all. I'd echo some of your sentiments about the writing. I think it could have been stronger, but that also could just because I think we've had the original one had pretty solid writing in addressing a lot of the issues you've had.
Well, I'm saying it's like this is coming from someone who has not seen the original stuff.
No, right,
I'm going in fresh, so whatever I see, that's what I'm seeing for the first time.
No, and I'm saying as someone who has seen the original version, I agree with your statements on the new version here a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, you actually addressed a lot of the things I was going to address. You were on fire today, Matt.
I know. Also, the little sad thing is Jerry was laughing a lot. Mark did a couple of laughs. I actually did not. I did not laugh once.
Hopefully we'll get.
I did smirk like once or twice when Launchpad came in the second time. So I'm like, I'm a pilot.
It's safe to say Launchpad a shining moment in the episode, I think, for me.
Yeah, but there were a couple of jokes that Launchpad did that I thought was a little hammy. Like the whole thing was like, oh yeah, we did. Oh, there's a ground crash, and I was like, there was no ground in the view. It was just like sky.
Yeah.
There were just some jokes he did that did not, quote unquote, land for me. LOL. Anyway, go on. I've ranted enough.
No, I think you covered a lot of my points, and Jared as well. So I would just say, for me going forward, I like a lot of the things that you guys said to be addressed and refined a little bit more. I'm also just looking forward to a lot more of the other villains coming back, especially since so many of the ones that were new and were like being advertised in the intro are already, well, maybe they're not one and done, but we've already got them out of the way, so to speak. And yeah, I think we'll wrap things up here then.
Quick thing I wanted to say, just to add on to what he mentioned about the writing and the moral of the like lying thing. That kind of ties in with what I said about like Miss Beakley kind of accepting at the end, because technically that was the payoff of the lesson of don't lie with Webby, but they did it so quickly. It's kind of like, don't lie, kids.
Yeah,
and then move on. So
really
it was like,
it didn't have a believable payoff.
Yeah, it's like here's the moral. Bye.
Oh, well, then that'll actually be my critique. Then you remind. Because I think same with the first part. I think, especially if you watch this as 1 hour thing, I think a little slow overall in some of the pacing, and then at the end just snap, wrap it up. We're done. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so but overall we'll give some scores now. Matt, since you had a lot to say, how about you lead us off with your score first?
All right, well, my score, like I said, I came in indifferent. I'd like to see them succeed because, like I said, I'll be real quick because Marc is giving me glaring eyes, is like video game movies, I want this show to succeed. So if it brings in enough viewers, hopefully we will get a reboot of Darkwing Duck, because comic book movies are huge right now. Think of the source material that Disney could have fun mocking and satirizing with our favorite...
Cape Crusader.
Yeah. Duck Crusader.
The terror that flaps in the night.
Oh god, there's so much fun to be had. But for me, someone who's indifferent, who hopes to see it better but had so much complaints, honestly, I'm kind of in the middle of the road. I kind of give it a 5 out of 10. I'm open to see how it improves. I will be glad to watch more episodes as they come out. Hopefully the writing will get stronger, but 5 out of 10 for me.
All right, then Jared, your score and any last thoughts?
Oh yeah, no. As someone that has seen the original show and, watched the 1 hour reboot and everything that we just did, I would give it an 8, just because the whole, they need to improve their writing, with their morals and everything, and they need to not have it speed up in the end with the pacing. So, for pacing reasons and moral payoff reasons, I give it an 8. But with that said, I'm excited to see where they go with it. I like David Tennant's Scrooge McDuck. I think it's pretty alright. I didn't have any issues with the other voices, minus Donald, because it was kind of hard and I did have to strain to make out what he was saying. Yeah. But other than that, solid 8 for me. I'm totally down with this reboot.
Yeah, and then for me, I think I'd put it at an 8, but I'd say maybe a little higher, but nitpicking, maybe 8.1, or something like that.
8.5 even.
Well, 8.5, 8.7, 8.10, why not while we're at it?
8.10,
8.50.
Wait, that's not correct.
Yeah.
Learn it up.
Learn your money.
Learn my integers.
But as I was saying now, I'm trying to remember where I was going with it. Yes. Overall, I think it's a good start. And I'm looking forward to the possibilities later down the road and just revisiting a lot more characters. And just for your amusement, Matt, they did confirm at Comic-Con that Darkwing Duck will appear in DuckTales.
Oh, that's cool.
So there is a chance that maybe once DuckTales does its run or whatever, that then they launch the Darkwing Duck reboot like they did with the originals.
Perhaps I'd be too hopeful, but it'd be cool if they brought back Jim Cummings to play his voice again.
I would hope they would.
I doubt it, though. If they're going to recast most of everybody except Donald, who is obviously a Disney staple, they're going to recast him. That's fine, as long as you write him well and make him funny.
Yeah.
All right.
I would agree.
Well, okay, Jared, you want to take us home, buddy?
Sure. So thank you everyone for listening to this audio-only episode 2 of the Game BroCast. We had a lot of fun doing this. I know I did. It's always cool to talk with y'all and just shoot the shit and everything. So with that said, tune in next time, everybody, where the Game BroCast comes back to you live with another audio, video, formatty thing.
Super awesome fun time.
Yes.
It's not going to be live. Oh, shit. John hates that.
Easy there, Morty. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a podcast.
And as we say here, to be continued.
Woo!
By the way, before we go, if you want us to watch anything else, give our thoughts and reviews on anything, please let us know in the comment section below. We greatly appreciate that. What, Mark?
And if you want us to continue with the series of DuckTales.
Oh, yeah, I'm totally down for that. Even
and hit us up on Twitter at GameBroStation, all one word because it's Twitter.
And listen to us on SoundCloud.
Yep.
Plugs!